Om Sai Ram. Welcome to Living Spiritually. Sai Satcharitra Chapter 31. Topics: Passing away in Baba's presence. Sannyasi Vijayanand, Balaram Mankar, Tatya Sahib Nulkar, Megha, the tiger. Preliminary. The last thought that a man has at the moment of death determines his future course. Shri Krishna has said in the Gita, "He who remembers me in his last moments comes verily to me, and he that meditates otherwise at that time goes to what he meditates on." We cannot be certain that we can entertain a particular good thought at our last moment, for we are most likely to be terrified by many things. Hence, constant practice is necessary to enable us to fix our mind on any desired good thought at the time of our death. Saints therefore recommend that we always remember God and chant His name so that we are focused when the time for our departure comes. The devotees surrender themselves completely to the saints with a firm belief that the omniscient saints will guide and help them in the last moments. A few such cases will be noted here. Sannyasi Vijayanand. A sannyasi named Vijayanand started on a pilgrimage to Manasa Sarovara. On the way there, upon hearing of Baba's fame, he halted at Shirdi. There he met Somadevji Swami of Hardwar and asked him about the particulars of the Manas Sarovar trip. The Swami told him that the Sarovar was 500 miles from the Gangotri and described to him the difficulties of the journey. Plenty of snow, the change of dialect every 150 miles, and the suspicious nature of the people of Bhutan, who harassed the pilgrims. Hearing this, the sannyasi was dejected and cancelled the trip. Then, when he went to meet Baba and prostrated before him, Baba got enraged and said, "Drive out this useless sannyas. His company is of no use." The sannyasi did not know Baba's nature. He was upset by this, but sat there watching things that were happening in the masjid. It was the morning darbar and the masjid was crowded. Baba was being worshipped in various ways. Some were washing his feet, some were drinking the holy water from washing his feet, others were swabbing their eyes with it, while some were applying scents and sandal paste to his body. Everyone was doing these things with no distinction of caste and creed. Though Baba got enraged with him, he was filled with affection for Baba and did not want to leave the place. He had been in Shirdi for 2 days when he got a letter from Chennai stating that his mother was very ill. He was very dejected and wanted to be by his mother's side, but he could not leave without Baba's permission. So he saw Baba with a letter in his hand and asked for his permission to return home. Baba, who knew the future, said to him, "If you loved your mother so much, why did you accept sannyas? Fondness or attachment is not part of sannyasi's life. Go and sit quietly in your lodging and wait patiently for a few days. There are many robbers in the Vada. Bolt your doors and be very vigilant. Otherwise, the thieves will steal everything. Wealth and prosperity are transient, and the body is subject to decay and death. Knowing this, do your duty and forget all attachment to the things of this world and the next. He who does this and surrenders himself to the feet of Hari will be free from all troubles and will attain bliss. The Lord runs to help the devotee who remembers and meditates on him with love and affection. Your store of past merits is considerable, and thus you have come here. Now imbibe what I say and realize the aim of your life. With a desireless mind, begin from tomorrow the study of the Bhagavat. Do 3 saptahas, 1 reading every week. The Lord will be pleased with you and will destroy your sorrows. Your illusions will vanish and you will get peace. Seeing that his end was approaching, Baba prescribed that remedy and made him read the Rama Vijaya, which is believed to please the god of death. The next morning, after bathing and other purifying rites, he started reading the Bhagavad in a secluded part of Lendi garden. He completed 2 readings and thereafter felt very exhausted. He returned to the Vada and stayed in his lodging for 2 days, and on the third day he breathed his last on Fakir Bade Baba's lap. Baba asked people to preserve the body for a day for a very good reason. The police came later and, on making proper inquiries, gave permission for the disposal of the body. It was cremated in a proper place with due rites. In this way, Baba helped the sannyasi and ensured that he attained salvation. Balaram Mankar. There was a devotee named Balaram Mankar. When his wife passed away, he was rather dejected. So, after entrusting his household to his son, he left his home and came to Shirdi and lived with Baba. Baba was pleased with his devotion and wanted to give a good turn to his life. He gave him 12 rupees and asked him to go and live in Machindragad. Mankar was first unwilling to go and stay away from Baba, but Baba convinced him that he was suggesting the best course of action and asked him to practice meditation thrice a day. With full faith in Baba's words, Mankar came to Machindragad. He was very pleased with the lovely sights, pure water, healthy air, and surrounding of the place and began to meditate as recommended by Baba. After a few days, he had a revelation. Usually, devotees get revelations in their trance states, but in Mankar's case, he got it when he came back to his ordinary consciousness. Baba appeared to him in person. Mankar asked Baba why he had sent him there. Baba replied, "In Shirdi, many thoughts and ideas began to arise in your mind. I sent you here to rest your unsteady mind. You thought that I was in Shirdi with a body only composed of the 5 elements and 3.5 cubits in length. Now see and determine for yourself whether the person you see here is the same as the person you saw at Shirdi. It is for this reason that I sent you here." Then, after living there for a while, Mankar left Machindragad and proceeded to his native place, Bandra. He wanted to travel by rail from Pune to Dadar, but when he went to the booking office to get a ticket, he found it very crowded. He was not able to get the ticket when suddenly a villager wearing a piece of cloth around his waist and a thin blanket on his shoulders turned up and said, "Where are you going?" To the other, replied Mankar. Then he said, "Please take this ticket of mine as I have some urgent business. I have cancelled my Dadar trip." Mankar was very glad to receive the ticket and was just about to pay the villager when the rustic suddenly disappeared into the crowd. Mankar tried to look for him in the crowd, but it was in vain. He waited for him till the train left the station but found no trace of him. This was the second revelation Mankar got in a strange form. The Mankar, after visiting his home, again returned to Shirdi and remained there at Baba's feet. He always followed Baba's instructions and advice. In the end, he was very fortunate to live the world in the presence and with the blessings of Baba. Tatya Sahib Nolkar. Hemant Pant gives no particulars regarding Tatya Sahib Nolkar, except mentioning the fact that he gave up his ghost in Shirdi. A brief summary of an account that appeared in the Sai Leela magazine is given here. Tatya Sahib was a sub-judge at Pandharpur in 1909 when Nana Sahib Chandorkar was Mamaldar, that is the district official. The two men met often and talked. Tatya Sahib did not believe in saints while Nana Sahib loved them. Nana Sahib often told him about the Leelas of Sai Baba and pressed him to go to Shirdi and see Baba. He finally agreed to go to Shirdi on 2 conditions: that he must be a Brahmin cook, or he must get a Brahmin cook, and that he must find good Nagpur oranges to give Baba. Both these conditions were providentially fulfilled. A Brahmin came to Nana Sahib looking for work and he was sent to Tatya Sahib, and a fruit parcel containing 100 beautiful oranges was received by Tatya Sahib. As the conditions were fulfilled, Tatya Sahib had to go to Shirdi. At first, Baba was enraged with him, but soon enough, Tatya Sahib got such experience that he was convinced that Baba was God incarnate. Thus, he was enamored of Baba and stayed there till his death. At his end was approaching, sacred literature was read out to him during his last few minutes. Baba's Padatirth was brought and given to him to drink. Baba, on hearing of his death, said, Tatya went ahead of us. He won't be reborn. Megha. Megha's story has already been described in the chapter 28. When Megha died, all the villagers followed the funeral procession, and Baba also accompanied them and showered flowers on Megha's body. After all the rituals were performed, tears flowed from Baba's eyes, and like an ordinary mortal, Baba showed himself overcome with grief and sorrow. Then, covering the body with flowers and crying like a close relative, Baba returned to the masjid. Many saints have been helping humans attain salvation, but Baba's greatness is unique. Even a cruel animal like a tiger came to Baba's feet to be saved. It is the story which will be narrated now. The tiger. 7 days before Baba passed away, a wonderful incident occurred at Shirdi. There came a country cart that stopped in front of a masjid. A tiger was on the cart, fastened with iron chains. With its fierce face facing the rear, it was suffering from some pain or agony. Its keepers, 3 dervishes, were taking it from place to place and making money by exhibiting it. It was the means of their subsistence. They tried all sorts of remedies to cure it, but everything was in vain. Then they heard of Baba's fame and came to him with the animal. They led it off the cart with chains in their hands and made it stand at the door. It was naturally fierce, disease-ridden, and restless. People began to look at it with fear and amazement. The dervishes went in, told Baba everything about the animal, and with his consent brought him before him. As it approached the steps, it was taken aback on account of the luster of Baba and bowed its head. Baba looked at the animal, and it climbed the steps and looked at Baba with affection. Immediately, it moved the tuft of its tail and dashed it thrice against the ground and then fell down senseless. On seeing it dead, the dervishes were at first very dejected and full of sorrow, but on contemplating it later, they came to their senses. They reasoned that as the animal was diseased and nearing its end, it was very meritorious on its part that it should meet its end at Baba's feet. It was the debtor, and when the debt was paid off, it was free and met its end at Sai's feet. When any creature bows its head at the saint's feet and meets its death, it is saved and useless, and unless it has a good store of merits in its account. How could it get such a happy end? End of chapter 31. Om Sai Ram. Om Satchidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Sai Ram. Welcome to Living Spiritually. Sai Satcharitra Chapter 32. Topics. First one. How Baba met his Guru in the woods and thereby met God. Second, in the quest of the Guru and God. Fasting disapproved. Third one, how Baba made Mrs. Gokhale break her fast. Fourth one, Baba's Sirkar. Preliminary. In the beginning, Hemad Pant describes the visible world using the allegory of the banyan tree, which has, in the phraseology of the Gita, roots above and branches below. Its branches are spread both downwards and upwards and are nourished by qualities. Its sprouts are the objects of the senses, its roots leading to actions are extended downwards to this world of men. Its form cannot be known in this world, and nor can its beginning or end be seen. After severing these strong roots with the sharp weapon of non attachment, one should seek the path beyond which there is no return. To traverse this path, the help of good guide, that is the Guru, is absolutely necessary. However learned a man may be, or however deep he might study the Vedas and the Vedangas are the sacred literature. He cannot get to his destination safely without a guide. If a guide is there to help him and show him the right path, he can avoid the pitfalls and the wild beasts on the journey, and everything will be smooth sailing. Baba's experience in this matter, a story which he himself tells, is truly wonderful. When remember, it will give you faith, devotion, and salvation. The quest. Once the four of us were studying religious scriptures and other books, and thus feeling enlightened, we began to discuss the nature of the Brahma. One of us said that we should raise this self by self and not depend on others. To this, the second replied that he would control his mind is blessed. Thus, we should be free from thoughts and ideas, and there is nothing in this world without us. The third said that the world is always changing, the formless is eternal, and thus we should discriminate between the real and the unreal. And the fourth, Baba himself, urged that bookish knowledge is worthless and added, let us do our prescribed duty and surrender our body, mind, and five pranas, the life sources, at the Guru's feet. The Guru is God and is all pervading. To attain this conviction, strong and unbounded faith is necessary. While discussing this, we began to ramble through the woods in a quest for God. The three others wanted to make the quest with their free and unaided intellect. On the way, a Vanjari, a traveling vendor who sells things such as grain, met us and asked us, it is hot now. Where and how far are you going? To search the woods, we replied. He inquired, on what quest are you bound? We gave him an ambiguous and evasive reply. Seeing us rambling aimlessly, he was moved and said, since you do not know the woods well, you should not wander at random. If you want to walk through forests and jungles, you should take a guide with you. Why do you exert yourselves unnecessarily at this hot noon hour? You may not want to tell me about your secret quest, but you can still sit down, eat bread, drink water, rest, and then resume your search. Always be patient at heart. Though he spoke with so much affection, we discarded his offer and marched on. We thought that we were self content men and needed nobody's help. The woods were vast and trackless, and the trees therein grew so close and tall, and the sun rays could not penetrate through them, so we lost our way and wandered for a long time. Ultimately, through sheer good luck, we came back to the place from where we started. The Vanjari met us again and said, relying on your own skills, you lost your way. A guide is always necessary to show us the right way in small or great matters, and no quest can be successfully carried out on an empty stomach. Unless God wills it, no one meets us on the way. Do not discard offers of food. Served dishes should not be thrust away. Offers of food should be regarded as auspicious signs of success. Saying this, he again offered us food and asked us to calm and patient. Again, the others did not like his hospitality and discarded his offer and went away. They were very obstinate. I was hungry and thirsty, and I was moved by the Vanjari's extraordinary love. We thought ourselves very learned, but were strangers to pity and kindness. The Vanjari was an illiterate fellow, and yet he had love in his heart and invited us to share his bread in this way. He who loves others disinterestedly is really enlightened, and I thought acceptance of his hospitality was the best way to begin gaining knowledge. So, very respectfully, I accepted the loaf of bread and drank water. Then, all of a sudden, the Guru appeared before us and asked, "What was the dispute about?" I told him everything that had happened. Then he said, "Would you like to come with me? I will show you what you want." But he alone who believes in what I say will be successful. I bowed to him reverently and accepted his dictum. Then he took me to a well, tied my feet with a rope, and hung me, head downwards and feet up, from a tree near the well. I was suspended 3 feet above the water, which I could not reach with my hands. Suspending me in this manner, he went away, no one knew where. After 4 or 5 hours, he returned, took me out quickly, and asked me how had fared. It was bliss supreme. How can a fool like me describe the joy I experienced? I replied. On hearing my answer, the Guru was very pleased with me, drew me near him, and stroking my body with his hand, kept me with him. He took care of me as tenderly as a mother bird does of her young ones. He enrolled me in a school. How beautiful it was! There, I forgot about my family, all my attachment was destroyed, and I was liberated easily. I thought that I should embrace his neck and remain staring at him always. If his image were not fixed in my pupils, I would prefer to be blind. Such was the school. No one who entered it once could return empty handed. My Guru became everything, my home, property, mother, father, everything. All my senses left their places and concentrated themselves in my eyes, and my sight was centered on him. Thus, my Guru was the sole object of my meditation. I was conscious of none else. While meditating on him, my mind and intellect were stunned. I kept quiet and bowed to him in silence. There are other schools where you see an altogether different spectacle. The disciples go there to seek knowledge and spend their money, time, and labor, but ultimately they have to repent. The Guru there boasts of his secret knowledge and his straightforwardness. He makes a show of his sacredness and holiness, but he is not tender at heart. He speaks a lot and sings his own glory, but his own words do not touch the disciples' hearts so far as self-realization is concerned. That Guru has none. How can such schools be of any use to disciples, and how are they benefited? The Master, the Guru, mentioned above was of a different nature, but his grace, realization came to me by itself without effort or study. I did not have to seek anything and everything because as clear to me as broad daylight. The Guru alone knows how suspending a person upside down can bring happiness. Among the four, one was a karmata, that is ritualist, who only knew how to observe and abstain from certain rites. The second was Gnani, who was puffed up with the pride of knowledge, and the third was the Bhakta, who surrendered himself completely to God, believing that he was the sole doer. When they were arguing, the question of God turned up, and they, depending on their unaided knowledge, went in search of him. Sai, who was discrimination and dispassionate incarnate, was one of the four. Since Baba was Brahma incarnate, some may ask, why did he mix with them and act foolishly? He did this to set them an example to follow. Though a great incarnation himself, he respected the lowly Vanjari by accepting his food. He firmly believed that food is Brahma and showed how those who rejected the Vanjari's hospitable offer suffered and how it was impossible to get gnana without a guru. The Shruti exhorts us to honor and worship our mother, father, and preceptor and to study the sacred scriptures. These are the means of purifying our minds, and unless this purification is effected, self realization is not possible. Neither the senses nor the mind and intellect reach the self. It is the grace of gurus that counts. The object of our life, such as dharma, artha, and kama, are attainable with our effort, but the fourth object, moksha, that is the liberation, can only be attained with the help of a guru. In the darbar of Sri Sai, many personalities appear and play their part. Astrologers come and give their prediction. Princes, noblemen, poor men, sannyasis, yogis, singers, and others come to receive darshana. Many others, like jugglers, the blind, the lame, dancers, and other players, come and are given suitable reception. Biding his own time, the Vanjari also appeared and played the part of assigned to him. Let us now turn into the other story. Fasting and Mrs. Gokhale. Baba never fasted and nor did he allow others to do so. The mind of the faster is never at ease, so how then could he or she attain his Paramatma, that is, goal of life? God is not attained on an empty stomach, for the soul has to be appeased. If there is no moisture and nutrition of food in the stomach, with what eyes should we see God? With what tongue should we describe His greatness? And with what ears should we hear the same? In short, when all our organs get their proper nutrition and are sound, we can practice devotion and other sadhanas, that's the spiritual sadhanas, to attain God. Therefore, neither fasting nor overeating is good. Moderation in diet is really wholesome, both for the mind and the body. Mrs. Gokhale came to Shirdi with an introductory letter from Mrs. Khasibai Kanitkar, a devotee of Baba, to Dada Kelkar. She came to Baba, determined to sit at Baba's feet and observe a 3 days fast. The previous day, Baba said to Dada Kelkar that he would not allow his children to starve during the holy days, and that if they had to starve, why was he there? The next day, when the women went with Dada Kelkar and sat at Baba's feet, Baba at once said to her, "What is the necessary of fasting? Go to Dada Bhatt's house, prepare the dish of puran polis, wheat rotis with gram flour and jaggery, and feed his children and yourself." Mrs. Kelkar was then in her menses, and there was nobody to cook in Dada Bhatt's house, so Baba's advice was very timely. So Mrs. Gokhale had to go to Dada Bhatt's house and prepare the dish as directed. She cooked that day and fed everyone. What a good story and how beautiful its import. Baba Sirkar, that is, true boss. Baba once told a story of his boyhood, which was as follows. When I was youngster, I was in search of bread and went to Bidgaon, where I got work doing embroidery. I worked hard and spared no pains to do my work well. The employer was very pleased with me. 3 other boys had worked there before me. The first got 50 rupees, the second 100, and the third 150. And I was given twice the sum of their amounts, that is 600 rupees. After noticing my extraordinary skill, the employer loved me, raised me, and honored me with a full dress, a turban for my head, and a dress. I kept this dress intact and did not use it right away. I thought that what a man might give does not last long and it is always imperfect, but what God gives lasts till the end of time. No other gift from any man can be compared to his. My Lord says, "Take, take," but everybody comes to me and says, "Give, give." Nobody attends carefully to the meaning of what I say. My Lord's treasury, the spiritual wealth, is full. It is overflowing. He says, "Dig it out and take away this wealth in cartloads." The skill of my fakir, the leela of my Bhagwan, and the aptitude of my sirkar are quite unique. And what about me? My body will mix with the earth and my breath with the air. This time won't come again. I go somewhere and sit somewhere, and the hard Maya troubles me greatly. And yet I still always feel anxious for my devotees. He who does anything spiritually will reap its fruits, and he who remembers these words of mine will get invaluable happiness. End of chapter 32. Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Ram. Welcome to Living Spiritually. Sai Satcharitra Chapter 33. Topics: The greatness of Udi, Scorpion stings and plague cases cured, the Jamner miracle, Narayan Rao's sickness, Bala Buva Sutar, Appa Saheb Kulkarni, and Aribabu Karnik. In the last chapter, we came to know the greatness of Guru, and now in this chapter, we'll come to know the greatness of Udi. Preliminary: let us now bow before the great saints. Their merciful glances will destroy mountains of sins and do away with all the evil streaks in our character. The casual talk gives us valuable lessons and confers on us perishable happiness. Their minds do not know any difference, such as this is ours and that is yours. Such differentiation never arises in their minds. Our obligation to them will never be repaid by us in this birth as well as in many future births to come. Odi. It is well known that Baba asked for or received dakshina from devotees who visited him, and out of the amount thus collected, he spent a lot on charity and purchased fuel with the remaining amount. He fed this fuel into the dhuni, the sacred fire which he always kept burning. The ash from this fire was called Odi, and it was freely distributed to the devotees at the time of their departure from Shirdi. What did Baba teach by this Odi? Baba taught us that all the visible phenomena in this universe is as transient as ash. Our bodies, composed of the 5 elements, will perish after all the worldly enjoyments are over and will be reduced to ashes. In order to remind the devotees of this, Baba distributed Udi to them. Baba also taught through Udi that Brahma is the only reality, that the universe is ephemeral, and that no one in the world, son, father, or wife, is really ours. We come into this world alone and we have to live alone. While Udi also cured many physical and mental problems, Baba wanted to teach his devotees the principles of discrimination between the unreal and real and non-attachment for the unreal. The Udi taught us discrimination and Dakshina taught us detachment. Unless we have these two things, it is not possible for us to cross over the sea of mundane existence. So Baba asked for and received Dakshina, and when the devotees took leave, he gave them Udi as prasad, besmeared some of it on their forehead, and placed his boon conferring hands on their heads. When Baba was in a cheerful mood, he used to sing merrily. One of the songs he sang was about Udi. The chorus of that song was, "O playful Rama, come and bring with you sacks of Udi." Baba used to sing this song in a very clearly and sweet tone. Udi also had its material significance. It conferred health, prosperity, freedom from anxiety, and many other worldly gains. Thus, Udi helped us to gain both our end materials as well as spiritual. Inspired by Baba, we shall now begin to tell you the stories about Udi. The Scorpion Sting. Narayan Motiram Jani of Nasik was a devotee of Baba. He was working for another devotee of Baba named Ramachandra Vaman Modak. Once he went to Shirdi with his mother and saw Baba. Then Baba told the mother that her son should not work for anyone and should start his own business. A few days after this, Baba's prophecy came true. Narayan Jani quit his job and started a boarding house which later thrived. Once, a friend of Narayan Rao's was stung by a scorpio, and a pain caused by it was severe and unbearable. Udi is very efficacious in such cases and should be applied to the area of pain. So Narayan Rao searched for it but found none. Then he stood before Baba's picture, invoked Baba's aid, chanted Baba's name, and taking a pinch of the ashes of the incense burning in front of Baba's picture, and thinking it to be Baba's udi, he applied it to the area that had been stung. As soon as he applied it, the pain vanished and both persons were moved and were grateful to Baba. The bubonic plague case, a devotee in Bandra came to know that his daughter, who was living in another place, was down with bubonic plague. He had no udi with him, so he sent word to Nana Sahib Chandorkar to send the same. Nana Sahib got this message on a road near the Tana railway station when he was travelling with his wife to Kalyan. He had no udi with him at the time. He therefore took some earth from the road, meditated upon Sai Baba, invoked his aid, and applied to the forehead of his wife. The devotee heard about this, and when he went to his daughter's house, he was very glad to learn that his daughter, who had been suffering for 3 days, had begun to improve from the very moment Nana Sahib invoked Baba's aid. The Jamner miracle. About the year 1904, Nana Sahib Chandorkar was Mamaldar at Jamner, which is more than 100 miles from Shirdi. His daughter Mainatai was pregnant and was about to deliver. The case was very serious. She had been suffering from labor pains for about 2 or 3 days. Nana Sahib tried all sorts of remedies, but they proved in vain. He then remembered Baba and invoked his aid. In Shirdi, at about the same time, a man named Ramgir Buba, who Baba called Bapu Girbahu, wanted at this time to visit his native place in Khandesh. Baba called him and told him to rest a little at Jamner on his way home and give the udi and arti to Nana Sahib. Ramgir Bua said that he only had 2 rupees with him and that this amount was barely sufficient for the railway fare up to the Jalgaon, and thus it was not possible for him to go from Jalgaon to Jamner, a distance of about 30 miles. Baba assured him that he need not worry as everything would be provided for him. Then Baba asked Shama to write out the well-known Arti composed by Madhav Atkar, a translation of which is given at the end of this work, and give a copy of it with udi to Ramgir Bova. He then asked Ramgir Bova to deliver this to Nana Sahib. Relying on Baba's words, Ramgir Bova left Shirdi and reached Jalgaon at about 2:45 a.m. He had no money left with him and was in hard plight. To his great relief, he heard somebody calling out, "Who is Bapugir Buva of Shirdi?" He went to the man and told him that he was Bapugir Buva. Then the peon, claiming to be sent by Nana Sahib, took him out to an excellent tanga with a good pair of horses. The tanga drove fast, and early in the morning they came to a brooklet. The driver took the horses to water them, and the peon asked Ramgir Buva to partake of some eatables. On seeing the beard, moustache, and the livery of the peon, Ramgir Buva suspected he was a Muslim and was thus unwilling to take any refreshment from him. But the peon satisfied him by saying that he was a Hindu. The peon also said that Nana Sahib had sent this refreshment and that there should be no hesitation or doubt about accepting them. Then both of them ate and started on the journey again. They reached Jamner at dawn. Ramgir Buva alighted to attend the call of nature and returned within a few minutes, but found that there was no tanga driver or the peon. He was dumbfounded. Then he went to nearby village office. Upon making inquiries, learned that the Mamaldar was at home. He went to Nana Sahib's house, introduced himself, and gave Nana Sahib udi and arti. At this time, Maina Tai's case was very serious and everyone was very anxious about her. Nana Sahib called out to his wife and asked her to give the udi mixed with water to their daughter and sing Baba's arti. He thought that Baba's help was very timely. In a few minutes she delivered safely and the crisis had passed. She delivered safely and the crisis was past when Ramgir Bhuva thanked Nana Sahib for the peon, thanga and the refreshment. Nana Sahib was rather surprised. He had not sent anyone to the station as he did not know someone was coming from Shirdi. Mr. B.V. Dio of Thana, retired Mamaldar, made inquiries about the matter with Papurao Chandorkar, that is Nana Sahib's son, and with Ramgir Buwa, and then wrote an elaborate article, part prose and part poetry, in the Sri Sai Leela magazine, volume 13, numbers 11, 12, and 13. B.V. Narsim Swami also took down the statements of Mainatahi Bapu Sahib Chandorkar and Ramgir Buwa and published them in Devotees Experience, Part 3. The following is quoted from Ramgir Buwa's statement. One day, Baba called me and gave me a packet of udi and a copy of Baba's Aarti. I was planning on travelling to Sandesh at the time. Baba directed me to go to Jamner and told me to deliver the Aarti and udi to Nana Sahib Chandorkar. I told him that all I had was 2 rupees and asked him how that would take me by train from Kopargaon to Jalgaon and then by cart from Jalgaon to Jamner. Baba said, God will give. That was Friday and I started at once. I reached Manmad at 7:30 p.m. and Jalgaon at 2:45 a.m. Plague regulations were being enforced and I had quite a bit of trouble getting to Jalgaon. At about 3 a.m., a peon in boots, a turban, and well equipped with other details of good dress appeared and took me to a tanga and drove me on. He claimed that he worked for Nana Sahib Chandorkar. I was rather surprised on the way. I shared the refreshment he offered me. We reached Jamner early in the morning, and by the time I'd returned from attending the call of nature, the tanga, the peon, and its driver had disappeared. Narayan Rao. A devotee named Narayan Rao, surname not given in this case, had the good fortune of meeting Baba twice during the latter's lifetime. Yet, even 3 years after Baba passed away, Narayan Rao wanted to come to Shirdi but could not come due to an illness. Within a year of Baba's Mahasamadhi, he had fallen sick and suffered a lot. All ordinary remedies gave him no relief, and so he meditated on Baba day and night. One night in his dreams, Baba came to him through a cellar and comforted him, saying, "Don't be anxious, you will improve from tomorrow, and within a week you will be on your legs." Narayan Rao recovered fully within the time mentioned in the vision. Now, the point of the story is, was Baba living because he had a body, or was he dead because he had left it? Baba is always alive, for he transcends both life and death. Even a person who gives Baba wholehearted affection once gets a response from him at any time and at any place. He is always by our side and will take any form and appear before the devout disciple and satisfy him. Appa Sahib Kulkarni. In 1917, Appa Sahib Kulkarni had a chance to meet Baba. He was transferred to Thana and began to worship Baba's picture, which Bala Sahib Bhate had given him. He earnestly worshipped this picture, offered flowers, sandal paste, and naivedya, the religious offering of food, and had an intense desire to meet Baba. In this connection, it can be said that bowing before Baba's picture earnestly is equivalent to seeing him in person. The following story illustrates the statement. Bala Bua Sutar, a saint from Bombay named Bala Bua Sutar, who on account of his piety, devotion and bhajans was called modern Tukaram, came to Shirdi for the first time. In 1917, when he bowed before Baba, the latter said, "I have known this man for the past 4 years." Bala Bua wondered how this could be. He had never been to Shirdi before or met Baba, and thus he wondered why Baba said this. But upon thinking about it carefully, he recollected that he had prostrated himself 4 years ago before Baba's portrait in Bombay. Thus he was convinced about the significance of Baba's words. He said to himself, "How great saint and all pervading are the saints, how kind they are to their devotees." I merely bowed to his photo, and this was noticed by Baba. And in due course, he made me realize that seeing his photo is equivalent of seeing him in person. Appa Sahib Kulkarni's story continued. Now we return to Appa Sahib's story. While he was in Thana, he had to go on to tour to Bhiwandi and was not expected to return for a week. In his absence, the following wonderful thing took place on the third day after his departure. At noon, a fakir turned up at Appa Sahib's house. His features resembled those of Baba. Mrs. Kulkarni and the children asked him whether he was Sai Baba of Shirdi. He said he wasn't, but he was an obedient servant of his and he had come there at Baba's direction to inquire about the health of the family. Then he asked for dakshina and Mrs. Kulkarni gave him a rupee. The fakir then gave her a small packet of udi and asked her to keep this in the shrine next to Baba's photo. Then the fakir bade goodbye and left. Now listen to this wonderful leelas of Sai. Appa Sahib could not proceed with this tour as his horse had fallen sick at Bhiwandi. He returned home that afternoon and learned from his wife about the fakir's visit. He thought it was unfortunate that he did not receive the darshan of this fakir and was not happy that only 1 rupee was paid as dakshina. He said that had he been present, he would have offered no less than 10 rupees. Then he immediately left to find the fakir on an empty stomach. His search was in vain. He then returned home and had his food. The reader may remember here Baba's dictum that the quest of God should not be made on an empty stomach. Appa Sahib learnt a lesson about this. Then after his meals, he went out for a walk with a friend. After walking some distance, they saw a man approaching them rapidly. Appa Sahib thought that he must be the fakir that came to his house at noon, as he resembled Sai Baba. The fakir immediately put forth his hand and asked for dakshina. Appa Sahib gave him a rupee, yet he demanded money repeatedly, and so Appa Sahib gave him 2 more, and the fakir was still not satisfied. Then he borrowed 3 rupees from his friend and gave him to fakir, and yet the fakir wanted more. Appa Sahib asked the fakir to accompany him home. Then they all returned home, and Appa Sahib gave him another 3 rupees. In all, it's 9 rupees. He looked unsatisfied and demanded more. Then Appa Sahib told him that he had a currency note of 10 rupees. The fakir asked for the same and took it, returned the 9 rupees and left. Appa Sahib had said that he would pay 10 rupees and that sum was taken from him and 9 rupees consecrated by Baba's touch were returned to him. The figure 9 is significant. It denotes the 9 types of devotion. It may also be noted that the Baba gave 9 rupees to Lakshmi Bai Shinde in his last moments. Appa Sahib examined the udi packet and found that it contained a few flower petals and akshata. Then a few years later he got a hair from Baba when he received his darshana at Shirdi. He put the udi packet and the hair in a talisman and always wore it on his arm. Appa Sahib also discovered the power of udi in other ways. Though he was a very intelligent man, he made 40 rupees as pay initially, but after he secured Baba's photo and udi, he got many times 40 rupees per month and also got lot of power and influence. And in addition to this temporal benefits, his spiritual progress was also rapid. So those who are fortunate enough to get Baba's udi should, after a bath, apply it to their forehead and drink some of it mixed with water as holy tirtha. Haribabu Karnik. In 1917, Haribabu Karnik of Dahanu, that's the Tana district, came to Shirdi on the Guru Purnima day in the month of Ashada and worshipped Baba with all due formality. He offered clothes and dakshina, and after taking Baba's leave through Shama, walked down the steps of the masjid. Then he thought that he would offer 1 rupee to Baba and was about to return. Shama signaled that as he had received Baba's permission to leave, he should go and not return. He then left and, on his way home, went into the temple of Kala Rama at Nasik to receive darshan. The Saint Narsingh Maharaj, who used to sit inside the big door of the temple, left his devotees, came to Haribabu, caught his wrist and said, "Give me my 1 rupee." Karnik was surprised. He paid the rupee willingly and thought that Sai Baba had recovered the rupee, which he intended to give through the saint Nursing Maharaj. This shows how saints work in unison. End of chapter 33. Om Sai Ram. Om Satchidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj ki Jai. Om Sai Ram. Welcome to Living Spiritually. Sai Satcharitra Chapter 34. Topics: the greatness of Udi, the doctor's nephew, Dr. Pillai, Shama's sister in law, the Iranian girl, the gentleman from Harda, and the lady from Bombay. The doctor's nephew. There was a doctor who lived in a place called Malegaon. His nephew suffered from an incurable disease, tubercular bone abscess, and the doctor and his brothers, who were also doctors, tried all sorts of remedies and even an operation. All this did not give the boy any relief, and there seemed to be no end to the little boy's suffering. Friends and relatives advised the parents of the boy to seek divine aid and recommended them to try Sai Baba, who was known to have cured such incurable cases by his mere glance. The parents therefore came to Shirdi and prostrated before Baba. They placed the boy before him and pleaded humbly and respectfully and implored Baba to save their son. The merciful Baba comforted them, saying, "Those who resort to this masjid shall never suffer anything in this life until the end of time. Be carefree now. Apply Udi on the abscess, and within 1 week he will recover. Believe in God. This is not a masjid but a Dwaravati, a celestial doorway. He who steps in will soon get health and happiness. His sufferings will come to an end." The boy was placed before Baba, who touched the affected part and cast his loving glances on the boy. The patient was pleased, and with the application of Udi, he began to recover and was completely cured within a few days. The parents then left Shirdi with their son, thanking Baba for the cure. This cure was through Udi and Baba's divine grace. After learning about all this, the doctor was wonderstruck and wanted to receive Baba's darshan. While he was on his way to Bombay for some business, but at Malegaon and Manmad, somebody spoke to him about Baba and poisoned his ears. He therefore dropped the idea of visiting Shirdi and went to Bombay directly. He wanted to spend the rest of his vacation at Alibag, but at Bombay he heard on 3 successive nights a voice crying out, "You still don't believe me?" Then the doctor changed his mind and resolved to go to Shirdi. He had to attend a case of viral fever in Bombay which showed no signs of abatement. So he thought that his Shirdi trip would be postponed. He, however, proposed a test in his mind and said, "If the patient gets better today, I shall start for Shirdi tomorrow." The amazing thing was that exactly at the time he proposed the test in his mind, the patient's fever began to abate and the patient's temperature soon became normal. Then he went to Shirdi with Baba's grace, received Baba's darshan, and prostrated himself before Baba. He stayed there for 4 days and returned home with Baba's Udi and blessings. His nephew's case had given him an opportunity to see Baba, and this gave him everlasting love for Baba's feet. Dr. Pillai. Dr. Pillai was a devotee who was very close to Baba. He was well liked by Baba, who always called him Bahu, that is, brother. Baba spoke to him regularly, consulted him in all matters, and always wanted him by his side. Pillai once suffered very badly from guinea worms. He said to Kaka Dikshit, "The pain is so excruciating and unbearable. I prefer death to it. I know this pain is to repay my past karma, but please go to Baba and tell him to stop the pain and transfer the repayment of my past karma to 10 future births of mine. Dikshit went to Baba and told him of Pillai's request. Then Baba, moved by his request, said to Dikshit, "Tell him to be fearless. Why should he suffer for 10 births? In 10 days, he can work out the sufferings and consequences of his past karma. When I am here to take care of his temporal and spiritual welfare, why should he pray for death? Bring him here on somebody's back and let us work and finish his suffering once and for all." Dr. Pillai was brought in that condition and was seated to the right of where Baba seated. Baba gave Pillai his pillow and said, "Lie calmly here and be at ease. The true remedy is that the results of our past actions have to be suffered through. Our karma is the case of our happiness and sorrow. Therefore, put up with whatever comes to you. God is the sole dispenser and protector, always thinks of him. He will take care of you. Surrender to his feet with body, mind, wealth, and speech, and then see what he does." Dr. Pillai told Baba that Nana Sahib had put bandage over the leg, but he had gotten no relief from this. "Nana is a fool," replied Baba. "Take that bandage off, or else you will die. Now a crow will come and peck you, and then you will recover." While this conversation was going on, a man named Abdul, who cleaned the masjid, turned up. While he was attending to his work of cleaning, his foot accidentally fell upon Dr. Pillai's stretched out leg. The leg was already swollen, and when Abdul's foot fell upon it and pressed it, all the severe guinea worms were squeezed out at once. The pain was unbearable, and Dr. Pillai bawled out loudly. After some time, he calmed down and began to sing and cry alternately. Then Pillai inquired when the crow was coming and when it was going to peck him. Baba said, "Did you not see the crow? He won't come again." Abdul was the crow. "Now go and rest in the Vada. You will soon be all right." By the application of odi, drinking it mixed with water, and without taking any other treatment or medicine, the disease was completely cured in 10 days as predicted by Baba. Shama's sister-in-law. Shama's younger brother, Babaji, was living near a well. Once his wife contracted bubonic plague and had a high fever and 2 lumps in her groin. Babaji rushed to meet Shama at Shirdi and asked him to come and help. Shama was frightened, but to honor his brother's request, he went to Baba, prostrated himself before Baba, invoked his aid, and requested Baba to cure the case. He also asked for permission to go to his brother's house. Then Baba said, "Don't go there at this late hour. Send her odi instead. Why care for the fear and lumps? God is our father and master. She will be all right. Do not go now. Go there in the morning and return immediately." Shama had full faith in Baba's words and odi. Some odi was sent with Babaji and was applied to the lumps, and some of it was mixed with water and was given to the patient to drink. As soon as it was ingested, the patient's perspired profusely, the fever abated, and she slept soundly. The next morning, Babaji was surprised to see his wife all right and refreshed with no fever or lumps. When Shama went there the next morning with Baba's permission, he was also surprised to see her at the hearth preparing tea. On asking his brother, he learned that Baba's udi had cured her completely in one night. Then Shama realized the significance of Baba's words, "Go there in the morning and return immediately." After having some tea, Shama returned and after bowing before Baba said, "Deva, what is this game of yours? You first raise a storm and make us restless and then calm it down and ease up?" Baba replied, You see, mysterious is the path of action. Though I do nothing, they hold me responsible for the actions which take place on account of Adrishta, that is the destiny. I am merely its witness. The Lord is the sole actor and inspiration. He is also most merciful. Neither am I God or the Lord. I am his obedient servant and remember him often. He who casts aside his egoism, thanks God, and trusts him entirely will have his shackles removed and will thus obtain liberation. The Iranian girl. Now, read the experience of an Iranian gentleman. His young daughter suffered from epilepsy and had fits every hour. When the convulsions came, she lost the power of speech, her limbs froze, and she fell down senseless. No remedy gave her any relief. A friend recommended Baba's Udi for her father and asked him to get it from Kaka Sahib Dikshit in Bombay. Then the gentleman got the udi, mixed it with water, gave it to his daughter to drink. In the beginning, the convulsions, which came every hour, only came every 7 hours or so, and after a few days, the daughter recovered completely. The gentleman from Harda. An elderly gentleman from Harda was suffering from a stone in his bladder. Such stones at the time were generally removed by surgical operations, and people recommended that he undergo one. He was old and weak, lacked the strength of mind and body, and could not think of submitting himself to the surgical treatment. His suffering was soon to end in another way. The city officer of that town was a devotee of Baba and always had a supply of udi with him. On the recommendation of some friends, the patient's son got some udi from the city officer, mixed it with water, gave it to his old father to drink. Within 5 minutes, the udi was assimilated. The stone was dissolved. It came out through his urine, and the old man was relieved. The lady from Bombay. A woman from Bombay always suffered terrible pain at the time of childbirth. She was very frightened each time she was pregnant and did not know what to do. Sri Rama Maruti of Kalyan, who was the devotee of Baba, advised her husband to take her to Shirdi for a painless delivery. When she next became pregnant, the couple came to Shirdi, stayed there for a few months, and worshipped Baba and got all the benefits of his company. After some time, the hour of delivery came, and as usual, there was an obstruction in the passage from the womb. She began to suffer labor pains and did not know what to do, but began to pray Baba for relief. In the meantime, a few women from the neighborhood turned up and, after invoking Baba's aid, gave her an odi mixture to drink. In 5 minutes, the women delivered safely and painlessly. The child was stillborn, according to its fate, but the mother, who got rid of the anxiety and pain, thanked Baba for the safe delivery and always remained grateful to him. End of chapter 34. Om Sai Ram. Om Satchidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Sai Ram. Welcome to Living Spiritually. Sai Satcharitra Chapter 35. Topics: tested and never found wanting, Kaka Mahajani's friend and boss, the insomnia case, Bala Patil Nivaskar. This chapter also continues the subject of the importance of Udi, and it also gives two cases in which Baba was tested and not found wanting. Preliminary: in spiritual matters or endeavors, sectarianism is the greatest bar to our progress. Those who believe that God is formless are heard saying that to believe that God has a form is an illusion and that saints are merely human. Then why should they bow before the saints and offer dakshina? Persons belonging to other sects will also raise objection and say, why should we bow and offer allegiance to other saints since we have our own Sadgurus? Similar objections regarding Sai Baba have been heard before and are heard even now. Some said that when they went to Shirdi, Baba asked for dakshina from them. Is it good that saints should collect money in this fashion? If they do so, where is the sainthood? They asked. But there are many instances where men went to Shirdi to scoff but remained there to pray. Two such incidents are given below. Kaka Mahajani's friend. A friend of Kaka Mahajani's was a devotee of God without form and was averse to idolatry. Out of curiosity, he agreed to go to Shirdi with Kaka Mahajani on two conditions: that he would neither bow to Baba nor pray him or not pray him or pay him any dakshina. Kaka agreed to these conditions and they left Bombay on a Saturday night and reached Shirdi the next morning. As soon as their feet touched the steps of the masjid, Baba, looking at the friend from a distance, addressed him with sweet words. Oh, welcome, sir. The voice in which he said these words was a very peculiar one. It resembled the voice of the friend's father. It reminded him of his departed father and sent a joyous thrill through his body. What an enchanting power the voice had! Rather surprised, the friend said, this is no doubt the voice of my father. Then he went up and, forgetting his resolution, placed his head upon Baba's feet. Then Baba asked for dakshina from Kaka twice, once in the morning and again at noon. The friend whispered to Kaka, Baba asked for dakshina from you twice. I'm with you. Yet why does he omit me? Why don't you ask Baba himself, was Kaka's reply. Baba asked Kaka what his friend was whispering, and then the friend asked Baba himself whether he should pay any dakshina. Baba replied, you had no mind to pay, so you were not asked. But if you want to pay now, you may. Then the friend paid 17 rupees as dakshina, the same amount that Kaka paid. Baba then addressed him with a few words of advice. You do away with and destroy the wall, the sense of difference between us, so that we can see and meet each other face to face. Then Baba allowed them to depart. Though the weather was cloudy and threatening, Baba assured them of the safe journey and both of them reached Bombay safely. When he reached home and opened the doors and windows of his house, he found two sparrows had fallen dead on the floor and one flew out through a window. He thought that if he had left the windows open, the two sparrows would have been saved, but thought about it again and realized that they had met their fate and that Baba had sent him back soon enough to save the third sparrow. Kaka Mahajani's boss. Kaka was a manager in the firm Thakur Dharmaseth Jethabai, a solicitor in Bombay. The boss and the manager were close. Mr. Thakur knew that Kaka often went to Shirdi, stayed there for few days, and returned when Baba permitted him to. Out of curiosity and in order to test Baba, Mr. Thakur decided to go to Shirdi with Kaka during the Shimga holidays. As Kaka's return was uncertain, Thakur took another man with him as an associate. The three started together and Kaka bought 2 seers of raisins dry grapes with seeds on the way for Baba. They reached Shirdi in due course and went to the masjid to receive Baba's darshan. Baba Sahib Tharkar was there, and Mr. Thakur asked him why he had come there. To receive darshan? Tharkar replied. Mr. Thakur asked if miracles took place here, and Tharkar replied that to see miracles was not his intention. He said that the earnest intention of the Bhaktas was satisfied here. Then Kaka prostrated himself before Baba and offered the raisins to him. Baba ordered them to be distributed. Mr. Thakur got a few of them. He did not like raisins and he was advised by his doctors not to eat them without washing and cleaning them. So he was in a fix. He did not want to eat them, nor could he reject them. To keep up formalities, he put them into his mouth but did not know what to do with the seeds. He could not spit them out on the floor of the masjid. So he pocketed them against his wishes. He then thought that if Baba was a saint, how could he be ignorant of his dislike for the raisins, and why would he force them on him? When this thought arose in his mind, Baba again gave him some more raisins. He did not want to eat them but held on to them. Then Baba asked him to eat them. He obeyed and found to his surprise that they were all seedless. He wanted to see miracles, and here was one. He knew that Baba had read his thoughts and, as per his wishes, converted raisins with seeds into the seedless ones. What wonderful power! To test Baba further, he asked Tharkar, who was sitting nearby and also had raisins, what kind of grapes have you got? Tharkar replied, the variety with seeds. Mr. Thakur was again surprised to hear this. Then, to confirm his growing faith, Thakur thought that if Baba was a real saint, the raisin should now be given to Kaka first. Reading his thoughts again, Baba ordered that the distribution of raisins should be commenced from Kaka. This proof was sufficient for Thakur. Then Shama introduced Mr. Thakur as Kaka's boss, and upon which Baba said, how could he be Kaka's boss? Kaka has got a different boss altogether. Kaka appreciated this reply. Forgetting his resolve, Thakur bowed before Baba and returned to the Vada. After the noon Aarti was over, they all went to the masjid to take Baba's leave for their departure. Shama spoke for them, and Baba then spoke as follows. There was a fickle-minded gentleman. He had health and wealth and was free from both physical and mental afflictions. But he took on needless anxieties and burdens and wandered here and there, thus losing his peace of mind. Sometimes he dropped these burdens and at other times carried them again. His mind knew no steadiness. Seeing his state, I took pity on him and said, please keep your faith in any one place or point you like. Why roam like this? Stick quietly to one place. Thakur at once recognized that this was an exact description of him. He wished that Kaka would also return with him, but no one expected that Kaka would be allowed to leave Shirdi so soon. Baba read this thought too and permitted Kaka to return with his boss. Thus, Thakur got more proof of Baba's omniscience. Then Baba asked Kaka for 15 rupees as dakshina and received it. Baba then said to Kaka, if I take 1 rupee as dakshina from anybody, I have to return it tenfold to him. I never take anything gratis. I never ask anyone indiscriminately. I only ask and take from him whom the God points out. If anyone is indebted formally to the fakir, money is received from him. The donor gives and sows his seeds. only to reap a rich harvest in the future. Wealth should be the means to work out dharma. If it is used for personal enjoyment, it is wasted. Unless you have given it before, you do not get it now. So, the best way to receive is to give. The giving of dakshina advances vairagya, that is non attachment, and thereby bhakti and gnana. Give one and receive tenfold. On hearing these words, Mr. Thakur gave Baba 15 rupees as dakshina, forgetting his resolve not to do so. He felt he had done well in coming to Shirdi, as all his doubts were solved and had learned so much. Baba's skill in handling such cases was unique. Though he did all these things, he was totally detached from them, whether anybody bowed to him or not, or whether anybody gave him dakshina or not. It was the same to him. He never disrespected anyone. He felt no pleasure because he was worshipped and no pain because he was disregarded. He transcended the pairs of opposites, pleasure and pain. The insomnia case. A gentleman from Bandra had been suffering from insomnia for a long time. As soon as he fell asleep, his departed father appeared to him in his dreams and abused and scolded him severely. This broke his sleep and made him restless the whole night. This happened every night, and the man did not know what to do. One day he consulted a devotee of Baba about this. The devotee recommended Udi as the only infallible remedy he knew. He gave him some Udi and asked him to apply a little of it to his forehead before going to bed and to keep a packet of Udi under his pillow. He tried this remedy and found to his great surprise and joy that he could sound sleep and that there was no disturbance of any kind. He continued the remedy and always remembered Sai Baba. Then he bought a picture of Sai Baba, which he hung on the wall near his pillow, and worshipped it daily. On Thursday, he offered a garland and naivedya. Then he got on well and forgot about all his troubles in the past. Balaji Patil Nivaskar. This man was a great devotee of Baba. He rendered excellent and selfless service to Baba. Every day, swept and cleaned the passages and streets in Shirdi through which Baba passed on his daily routine. After Nivaskar passed away, this work was done equally well by a female devotee named Radha Krishnamai, and after her by a devotee named Abdullah. When Balaji harvested his corn every year, he brought the entire harvest and placed it before Baba. He then returned with what Baba gave him, and his family survived on that amount of corn. This course was followed by him for many years and after him by his son. The power and efficacy of Udi. Once on the day of Balaji's death anniversary, a certain number of guests were invited and dinner was prepared for them. But at dinner time, it was found that thrice the number of people invited had turned up. Mrs. Nevaskar was in a fix. She thought that the food would not suffice for the people assembled and that if it fell short, the honor of the family would be at stake. Her mother-in-law comforted her by saying, "Don't be afraid, it is not ours but Sai's food. Cover every vessel with cloth, put some udi in each and serve from them without removing their covers. Sai will save us from this." She did as she was advised, and it was found to their surprise and joy that not only did the food suffice, but plenty of it remained after serving. If one feels intently, one realizes accordingly, was proved in this case. A story where Sai appeared as a serpent. One day, Raghu Patil of Shirdi went to visit Balaji Patil at Nivase. This that evening, a serpent had entered the cowshed hissing. All the cattle were afraid and began to move around restlessly. The residents of the house were frightened too, but Balaji thought that it was Sai who had appeared in the house as a serpent. Not the least bit afraid, he bought a cup of milk, placed it before the serpent, and said, Baba, why do you hiss and make noise? Do you want to frighten us? Take this cup of milk and drink it with a calm mind. Saying this, he fearlessly sat next to the serpent. The other members of the household were frightened and did not know what to do. A while later, the serpent disappeared and nobody knew where it went. It was not food, though they all searched the cowshed for it. Balaji had two wives and children. They sometimes went to Shirdi from Nivasa to receive Baba's darshan. Then Baba bought saris and other clothes which were given to them with a blessing. End of chapter 35. Om Sai Ram. Om Satchidananda Sadguru Sai Nath Maharaj Ki Jai.